So this is a docudrama about To Catch a Predator, and it's starring Robert Pattinson.
Wait, it's a docudrama? I thought it was just like a dramatic retelling of this.
Yeah, isn't that what a docudrama is?
I don't really know.
It's a drama that's like about a real life event.
Couldn't that also be a biopic?
Well, I think a biopic focuses on a specific person's life, whereas a docudrama features an event, right? Like The Social Network is a docudrama, I would say.
Okay.
Not a biopic, right?
Yeah.
Because
Okay,
it features
sure.
multiple characters. It's not focused on one person's head, although you could say it's really about Mark Zuckerberg, but there's other characters in there, you know?
Zuck. Remember when the Zuck got cute for 2 seconds? Me neither.
You're telling on yourself. You're telling on yourself.
Delete it,
Okay.
delete it.
Somebody get these beggars out of here. Justin.
Geoff!
And welcome to Bants. And happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday indeed, Justin. I've never been happier on a Sunday, I would say. A lot to look forward to today.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just going to say happy Hot D finale day.
Hot Denali. Is that a thing?
Definitely not. Denali is a different thing altogether.
Is Denali a thing? Oh, what about the car? Isn't that a car? Chrysler Denali? Or Subaru? Or maybe it was like a Mazda?
It is a car, I believe, and it is also a mountain.
So it must have been like an SUV.
Yeah, I think it was like a truck or an SUV. Yeah.
What maker would you say? If you had to guess, was it a Hyundai? What else could you want in life, Kim? You've got a Hyundai.
It's a GMC. Just did a quick Google.
A GMC? Denali?
You a big truck guy?
I absolutely love trucks.
So is this Darren? Is Darren returning to the pod, or
no? I was just doing a little Kath and Kim style bit about having everything you need in life.
Of course,
including a Hyundai Sonata,
including a Denali, and including the Hot D finale.
Hot D finale, beautiful weather, gowns, beautiful gowns.
This podcast recording about the album Petal from Ariana Grande.
Love Ariana.
Excited about that?
Yeah, can't wait to discuss.
Lots to discuss for sure.
There's a lot to discuss, and shit, I have a what's good already picked out, as you likely saw from the sheet. But in fact, you know what? Okay, we're getting 2 what's goods from me this week, and one of them I want to talk to you about now during our little catch-up session.
Okay, go for it.
Justin, I saw a show yesterday on Broadway, which absolutely, it touched me. It was incroyable. One of the best musicals I have ever seen.
Okay, who's this? Who's guesting on the pod here?
Titaníque. It's me. Hello, Celine Dion. Titaníque, Justin. And I can't recommend this enough for our listeners because, you know, many of our listeners are our friends, colleagues. I call them frolics. And they have heard me preach the good word of Celine Dion. An underappreciated, I would say, legende, who many people have made a mockery of.
You think she's underappreciated?
Then she got ill and everybody wanted to be on her side again. And I said, I've been on Celine's side since day one. And Celine Dion was heavily featured in the musical Titaníque, which I saw yesterday with my good friends Joel and Roger. We had a lovely day in the city. They allowed me to crash the romantic weekend getaway because they told me about a month and a half ago they were going to see Titaníque on Broadway. I said, I simply must come. I'm inviting myself, and they said, you are welcome. We took the train down into the city. Didn't catch the express, didn't make it in time for that, so we did have a little bit of a long ride in. It was okay. That's all right. It was worth it, because this musical was just, like, the best thing I've ever seen. It was so fucking funny. The performances are absolutely incredible. Marlon Mindell, the genius you are, I am forever a fan, and I just owe you a debt of gratitude.
Can I ask you a question? Because you've obviously praised this musical. It's called Titaníque. You mentioned Celine Dion.
Yeah.
How do all of these things? What is this? Because you haven't described what it is.
That's true. I haven't. And I think I've talked about this before on the pod, saying that I wanted to see it at some point in time.
You definitely have not.
Okay. I think I have.
You have not. I can confirm.
Well, Justin knows everything, guys. So
I edit every episode. So.
Okay. Well, I've definitely talked about it in our group chat.
Sure. Maybe not the one that I'm in. Maybe your homebody's
Oh
group
my
chat.
God. Okay. Maybe it was the group chat with the gays, actually, now I'm thinking of it. That's
Might be
okay.
that one. Yeah.
All right. Anyways, Titanique is a jukebox musical retelling of the events of the Titanic featuring Celine Dion's soundtrack.
Okay.
And Celine Dion is the narrator of the show. And she's portrayed by Marla Mindell, who is also a co-creator of the show and a producer of the show. She wrote this with Constantine, I think Rosali is his last name. And it was off Broadway in New York for several years. And it just had its Broadway debut earlier this year and was nominated, I think, for 4 Tony Awards. And Marla Mindell was nominated herself 3 times. First person in Broadway history, Tony history, to be nominated for 3 categories for acting, producing, and writing.
Wow.
Which is really incredible. The show was so funny. It's very campy. It is very like LGBT coded. Y'all LGBT or something. The soundtrack, the humor in it, the comedy, the cast, so incredible. The iceberg is portrayed by this wonderful actor, and I want to get his name right. I want to say it's. Hold on, let me grab the playbill. I have it over here. The iceberg is portrayed. Well, Iceberg Bitch is the name of the character. Is portrayed by Leighton Williams, who also portrays several other characters throughout the show, including the museum tour guide and I guess he's like the assistant captain. The seaman is what they call him.
Mm.
Yeah. God, this musical was so fucking funny. The audience in there was so interesting because there was like clearly like the girls who get it, and then there was a lot of like heterosexual older couples that were there who are obviously like avid theater goers.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, this musical has a lot of like pop culture references, and they were utterly confused. The Iceberg Bitch has like a portion of the show where she's deciding, it's like a RuPaul style elimination. It's like, 6 girls stand before me, and only 2 or 5 of you will survive. And so then Jack and
Rose.
Nope, not Rose. I forget his name. Cal. Jack and Cal have to lip sync for their life to survive the Titanic. It's so good.
This sounds like just the concept, a bit that you came up with. Like this
Justin,
feels like it fits your personality so well.
It literally, I was like, I don't want to form unhealthy parasocial relationships, but I was like, I know that if Marla Mindell and I got in a room together, that we would become friends because we have a lot of the same like little vocal stems and things, and like I just love all the Celine Dion like my God, I'm just like all over the place.
This you have talked about on the pod, like your fascination with Celine Dion as a person and like her idiosyncrasies and, you know, little ticks as well.
Yeah. Crudette, it touched me. The sound, it went through my soul. She did all these little things. She had all these great pop culture references. Have you ever heard of Liza Minnelli when she's like on QVC and they call in and she's like, George, hi, Georgia.
Yes, you've done that bit many a time.
Okay.
Yes.
So this was in the show. This is what I'm working with. Like Marla and I are like on the same wavelength. You guys are just watching the same stuff. Your algorithms are likely the same. Yeah. She was so fucking incredible. The whole cast was incredible. I mean, every single performer was just like outstandingly good. I loved it. I laughed. I cried because I was so moved by how good they were and how fun it was. It was awesome.
Wow.
Everyone should go see Titanique.
Quick question, because like I feel like Broadway and generally musicals is like a blind spot for me. Like I'm not paying attention to any news about, you know, new musicals or Broadway or whatever. But does this require the like buy-in of the Celine Dion estate or Celine herself? Like does she sign off on the use of her songs, or does it get off on like a parody thing, you know?
They definitely had to acquire the rights to her music because some of the songs that they use in the show are like her entire song, like in full, and it's not just like under fair use or like parody.
Yeah, it's not like a parody version of the song. It's like just a full performance.
There are a couple of moments in the show where they like change the lyrics to parody and make it match up with the situation, but it really is a jukebox musical. So I'm sure that they acquired the rights. Today I was going to look up because I have not heard Celine Dion talk about Titanique. And I'm so curious about what her take is on it. And I'm sure she has one. And actually, knowing Celine, because my close personal friend
you guys
Celine
are
Dion,
very
knowing
close.
Celine,
You guys chat all the time.
I'm sure she loves it and thinks it's absolutely hysterical. But I wanted to see if there's like a video of her. I love those videos on Broadway where like huge, like iconic celebrities come in the room and everybody gives them like a standing ovation. I want to see if there's one of Celine Dion watching it. I feel like she must have gone to it.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say the reason I asked about the rights is because I feel like it's cool and like, yeah, it's just cool of Celine Dion to be like cool with a project like this where it's like,
yeah,
I think there is like a little bit of a
amazing
friendly ribbing going on of Celine
Very
Dion's
much.
like tics and stuff, so it's cool that she's like a good sport about it. Yeah.
My friends, thank you so much. You are my close friend. It's amazing. And Marla Mindell's like mannerisms, like she really got Celine Dion down. It was very good. And the whole thing is funny because like Celine Dion is like talking about how she was there for Titanic. That's like the whole bit of the
she was
show.
Present, yeah.
And she just like keeps like coming into scenes. They like wheel her in on like luggage.
Like, is she being like, this is how it actually happened?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much doing things like that. It's very funny. And she's also like playing like a really heightened version of Celine Dion that is also, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, irreverent. That was the word I was thinking of. She's playing like a very heightened and irreverent version of Celine Dion who doesn't realize how like obnoxious she's being and like making everything about her.
Yeah.
It's very funny. Like every time Jack and Rose kiss, she like puts her face in the middle of them and is like, trying to get in on it. It's so funny. It was incredible.
That's great.
Love Titaníque.
Well, check it out if you're in New York or if you have the ability to travel there.
And it was at the St. James Theater. I don't know how many seats it was. It was definitely over 500 because that's the limit I've learned for what counts as a Broadway or off-Broadway show. I learned it's just about the theater size, how many seats are available in the theater. So if it's over 500, it's considered Broadway. But it was a lovely theater. The staff there was so wonderful, very helpful, very kind, very patient. And I gotta say, this was like the best behaved audience I've ever been in terms of like kindness, conscientiousness, and like rule following. And I love that shit.
Interesting.
It was a lovely, lovely evening.
Happy to hear it. And now you're back in Connecticut, just a nice
and
day
now
trip.
I'm back in outer space.
Speaking of circling back, Geoff, quickly, let's talk about our yacht rock conversation from last week.
Oh my God. Yes.
That first of all, it went off on social media, got a lot of feedback on this question of what the millennial version of yacht rock is, but also after we recorded the podcast, it kept going. I think we were like texting each other about it, and like our group chat was going off about it, because they listen to the podcast, our friends in the group chat.
They listen to the podcast, our friends.
So first, I kind of wanted to revisit the conversation itself, because I do think one point that got a little bit missed was that I was looking for specifically a genre of music that is comparable to yacht rock, but for millennials, right?
Comparable.
And I think that a lot of the comments and a lot of your ideas were just like individual artists, which is fine. And I think that's like an interesting conversation to have. But I think part of the challenge is what's like a genre, like a group of artists that had a moment during our upbringing that could be considered yacht rocky. So just want to bring that up.
Yes. Well, and tell us what some of the comments said. Because I was in the comments. Oh, I read the comments.
I got the notifications. Trust me.
I was responding.
I was also responding. I was liking some comments. I was responding.
I like to respond from my personal account.
Oh, trust me, I know.
I see the band's very like HR responses, and I'm like, let me talk in here to these people.
I'm trying to be nice to our listeners, I'm trying to make sure they feel welcome in our comment section.
This response is like insinuating that I am unkind in the comments, and I would disagree. I think that I am very supportive.
Yeah, very supportive of people who agree with your picks. That's for sure.
Wow, Justin.
Somebody said like, oh, he's got a point. And you were like, yes, I do.
What they said was, he's onto something here with, and then listed some of the artists I said. And then I said, I'm always on, and then put in parentheses too, and then said something.
Funny little bit there.
Ba-dum-ching.
Okay, let's get into some of the comments. So on the artist side, we got Vampire Weekend. This is one that was pretty common across different platforms. So we got,
I do agree.
We got a Vampire Weekend on Instagram. We got it on YouTube.
Yep.
I think this was a pretty good poll.
I think it was a great poll.
Because Vampire Weekend famously like kind of upper middle class vibes in general.
Yes. Yep. I think from what you later refined your definition of yacht rock to be, I think that is like a great parallel.
Yeah.
because it is kind of like upper middle class. We don't have a ton of real problems, so let's like sing about like love and our vacations.
And Oxford commas. Yeah.
Yes. Grammar police.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust people that have like things that say like have you seen those t-shirts and hats or stickers that say grammar police?
No, that would be an immediate red flag if I saw that.
I agree. I don't like it.
Okay, how about genre-wise, butt rock? You familiar with this?
Listen, I saw butt rock mentioned a few times, and I gotta say, I have no idea what that is.
Okay, butt rock is like, I mean, you know what it is, you just don't know what it means.
Yeah,
It's
tell
like
me.
Nickelback, Creed, like that type of rock music.
That's called butt rock?
Yes, and it is like similarly
Wait, why?
a little
Like
bit
cigarette
pejorative.
butt?
No, it's just like funny because the word butt is funny. It's just like in your face and kind of silly and dumb.
I call that like divorced dad rock.
Yeah. Which I think in a comment somebody said butt rock / divorced dad rock. Like that was
Okay.
they're what's the word? They're synonyms.
Was that comment by Anna? Because she and I always refer to that type of music as divorced dad rock.
It was not. It was not from
Okay.
Anna. Butt rock is like a well-known. It's kind of pejorative, the same way that yacht rock is. You know.
You know, I don't like all this negativity. I don't like the negativity, Justin. Let's keep things fun and light and very positive.
But I thought we loved to hate. I thought it felt good in our bones.
It do feel good in our bones, but not this. All music is good music.
I don't agree with butt rock as a yacht rock comp because I think that butt rock is too lower middle class. Like this is you're listening to music in your garage drinking a beer, not you're out on a boat somewhere. You know what I'm
Justin,
saying?
I just had an image of me splicing the audio that you had. You said, I don't agree with, and then I'm going to splice it to say lower middle class. And then and then drinking beer in their garage. And then
Geoff
you're going to be
always
canceled.
plotting my downfall. Jeff always plotting my downfall.
Well, you make it so easy for me. You're asking for it. You're dying for it.
Yeah, I'm the one constantly saying questionable shit on the pod and then saying, delete that. I constantly am doing that.
You always do it. And every time I'm like in the studio editing and I say, all right, I'll help you out this
I guess
time,
I'll do
friend.
it this time. So your thoughts on butt rock as a yacht rock comp?
I feel like that works. That's like a good parallel to the to the yacht rock core.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about the term butt rock. That is like crazy to me.
You don't think it's clearly
very
you love it. You're
funny.
laughing. It's funny.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
I think
but
it's
it, like,
intended to be funny.
it means nothing, you know?
Yep.
Like it could mean anything. I was
It just
so
makes sense on
confused.
like a visceral level. Like it feels like butt rock. you
My
know?
art pop could mean anything. Yeah,
Okay.
I have no idea. Divorced Dad Rock, yeah. But Vampire Weekend, yes. I saw some people agreeing with Sheryl Crow.
Mhm.
I saw some people agreeing with Paula Cole.
Interesting that you're just repeating the ones that agreed with you. Here was another funny phenomenon that happened, which is
Okay.
like people just started listing yacht rock artists. I'm like, did you watch this or did you just see the word yacht rock and you just started
yeah.
listing things? I don't
No,
understand.
they weren't.
Strange. Internet's strange. Really quick, let's run through a couple of other comments that we got.
Okay.
And also some of our conversations with friends.
I have a feeling that these people may agree with you.
Well, no, it's not. I think these are new ideas. Those are the ones that I focused on.
I have a new idea, no?
There were a couple people on YouTube that said Coldplay and Maroon 5. Thoughts on those?
I thought I said Maroon 5 too. Didn't we talk about Maroon 5 in the pod?
Nope.
We definitely did.
We've talked about Maroon 5 on a previous episode.
Because I remember I said Maroon 5 and I said that V, remember?
No. I really don't know where these memories are coming from.
You know, Justin, I think that sometimes I have these ideas in my head and I don't have enough time or opportunity to spew them all.
You're saying 2 hours on a podcast, not enough time. You're saying our episodes have to be longer. Okay.
I could gab all day. If you weren't here, I'd just be talking to the door behind you. Or those corgis in that little poster behind you.
That is a wall
I got on
calendar.
Dale.
Yeah. Maroon 5.
What else? Yes,
You
Maroon
agree
5.
with.
I agree.
In our group chat,
By the way, songs about Jane. I think we talked about
we
this
talked
before.
about that. Yeah, we talked about Maroon 5 on the pod, but that
Incredible
was a while
album,
back.
incredible debut. One of the best albums of the 2000s.
How about this like fusion of genres, the hip hop EDM pop fusion that happened in like the late noughts with like Kanye's Graduation, Flo Rida, Black Eyed Peas. Like I Got a Feeling.
Okay, well, I maintain that while I understand the spirit of that is not like down tempo, chill vibes enough to be a parallel to yacht rock in my mind. But I do agree that is very millennial core. All those songs in like the late noughts, early 20 teens about like putting your hands up and going to the club and dancing and being a mess and like brushing your teeth with a bottle of Jack, all that shit.
How tonight is the night.
Tonight is the night, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And who cares about tomorrow? Let's live in the now.
I put my hands up in the air sometimes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's not like chill enough. You know what I mean? I think it's something about the Muzak quality of yacht rock that I think is like important to it, you know?
I agree.
Okay, and then final kind of category. This is from a conversation that I was having with my brother Jake, so shout out Jake. But he saw the short and we were texting about it. And he said, what about this like micro genre of like Jack Johnson, Jason Mraz, like Hey Soul Sister type like pop rock folk type stuff?
Yes.
I think that might be the one.
I think that absolutely counts. The post 9/11 era of music. Some of it, I think, a little too melancholy. Like, I think Norah Jones would be like a little too melancholy for it to be a yacht rock parallel. But Jack Johnson, Jason Mraz, absolutely. But making banana pancakes, ukulele.
That's this, ukulele pop. Maybe that's the name of this genre. You know,
who else played ukuleles? I feel like there are a few artists where that was like
Soul
really
Sister was like a ukulele song. Remember that song?
Train.
From Train?
That's right. Yeah.
And they like made that pivot because they used to be kind of more of like a alty, grungy.
Yeah. Almost more like a divorced dad rock coded.
Right. And then they switched into this like ukulele pop mode. Yeah. For Hey Soul Sister.
What was that other song that they did after Hey Soul Sister? That same era of like Train. They had like another big, like massive radio hit that was.
They got
like,
bad after that.
Well, yeah.
It's tough.
I think like them in like the late 90s was like their peak.
They had that like Christmas song. Do you remember that?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Marry Me was the one.
Yes, that's it.
And then they also had a song called Shake Up Christmas, which is the one that I'm thinking of.
Shake up your happiness. Shake it up. Take up. Da-da-da.
It was always like in Coca-Cola commercials or something, right?
Yeah.
Really weird. Weird stuff. Okay.
You know what, Justin? I have to tell you, I really do feel like Panini Leaks, things are getting weird. I still got to get this check, though.
And on that note, Geoff, let's talk about some hot topics this week.
I love a hot topic. Let's talk about the weather. It has been fucking awful. Hot, muggy, subtropical humidity levels. My hair, poofed out. My curl pattern, gone. Can't be found. More conditioner, another shower, more curl cream, another poof. It's tough out here for people of color.
It's been very humid and horrible in DC, as you can imagine, I'm sure.
Yeah. How's your hair in the humidity?
Well, it's fine.
You got that nice, like, smooth, like, Latino hair, you know?
It's like a loose curl.
Yeah. Lucky you.
Geoff, let's talk about the trailer for the new A24 film Primetime. Hard pivot here.
A hard pivot. Okay, this trailer is absolutely wild.
So this is a docudrama about To Catch a Predator, and it's starring Robert Pattinson.
Wait, it's a docudrama? I thought it was just like a dramatic retelling of this.
Yeah, isn't that what a docudrama is?
I don't really know.
It's a drama that's like about a real life event.
Couldn't that also be a biopic?
Well, I think a biopic focuses on a specific person's life, whereas a docudrama features an event, right? Like The Social Network is a docudrama, I would say.
Okay.
Not a biopic, right?
Yeah.
Because it features multiple characters. It's not focused on one person's head, although you could say it's really about Mark Zuckerberg, but there's other characters in there, you know?
Zuck. Remember when the Zuck got cute for 2 seconds? Me neither.
You're telling on yourself.
Delete it.
So this is directed by Lance Oppenheim. It's his first narrative feature film, and it follows a series of critically acclaimed documentaries that he's made. So Some Kind of Heaven, Sperm World, and Ren Fair.
Haven't seen any of those, have you?
I haven't, but I've heard about them. I've heard that they're like really good and kind of unique in the documentary space and that they're very narrative driven. So it makes sense that he's moving into fiction in Primetime.
Sperm World, story of me in my 20s.
So this movie, in addition to starring R. Pat, also stars Phoebe Bridgers, wild.
Yes, fascinating.
Merritt Wever, who we loved in Severance.
Oh my God, obsessed.
Skylar Gisondo, who is in Superman. Yep. So like kind of a stacked cast as well. Geoff, what did you think of the trailer?
Absolutely wild. Robert Pattinson's, the way that he has captured the voice of Chris, now I'm forgetting his last name. Hansen, thank you. Is pretty incredible. The styling is so good. And like I think in the trailer we see like a few different eras of Chris Hansen doing To Catch a Predator.
Yeah.
And so like we see like shots of it like obviously being filmed in the 90s with like analog televisions and Merritt Wever's watching the TV like in the studio. And then we see stuff that's like a little bit more contemporary, and the styling, and his hair is like a little grayer and he looks a little bit older. Really incredible, just like visually. I'm very interested to see what it's all going to come together and look like.
Yeah, I mean, it looks gorgeous and like a
Yeah.
little bit, it looks almost kind of like a horror movie or like a thriller, which I
Right.
think is appropriate for the subject matter.
Absolutely it is.
The moment that I saw the teaser for this, which we didn't talk about, this is the first trailer, but a teaser had come out before.
Yeah.
The teaser did not feature Arpat's face, but it did feature his voice as Chris Hansen. And the moment I saw that teaser, I was like, Oscar. Like, this
Yeah.
is going to be an Oscar film for Arpat, even if the movie isn't that good, which I do hope that it's going to be great. But like, this performance is like incredible. And
Seriously.
he's had some great performances. I mean, not that I've seen the movie, obviously, but just based on the trailer, he's one of those actors. I think we have like 4 or 5 of them, maybe 4, that are like in everything this year. Like we have Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Arpat, and I guess you could say Tom Holland, even though he's really only been in Odyssey and Spider-Man, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But it's funny that he has been in so many incredible films this year, you know, with Primetime and Dune 3 still kind of on the docket. And it's possible that all of these actors might get multiple Oscar noms, because there was a rule change this year where actors can get nominated for multiple awards in the same category. So like,
Crazy.
in theory, Arpat could get nominated for this film, Primetime, and for the drama in Best Actor or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see how award season turns out. I think Anna Hathaway also has a pretty good shot at getting a nomination in multiple categories.
I don't know. I think it's unlikely to happen, but it would be pretty interesting if people did get multiple nominations in the same category. What a flex, by the way, if that did happen. No one could ever tell me anything. Unfortunately, something like that would go right to my head. I would be absolutely insufferable.
Arpat, you know, he's great at being like self-deprecating, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. He's like embarrassed to exist.
He actually hates doing all these interviews. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't blame him. I think it's probably very awkward.
Yeah. And he seems like somebody who's not naturally like extroverted, you know, even though he's an actor, which is interesting.
I think a lot of acting is very heady, sort of cerebral and insular work. Like, you really have to get where your character's head is. And I think that requires a lot of self-reflection. I imagine, obviously, as a non-actor, but I would imagine that requires a lot of like introspection and thought, and like honestly really changing the way that you as a person, your brain reacts and respond. And you have to constantly be acting like, what would my character be thinking about this? How would they respond in this situation? You know?
Yeah.
So I feel like there are probably a lot of actors. Actually, we know there are a lot of actors who really are more introverted, but have to do the press junkets and all that kind of shit for their job. It's like a requirement, you know?
It's true. Yeah. About this movie, Primetime, I think it's, first of all, it's just like compelling stuff. The story of To Catch a Predator and like the multiple controversies that have dogged it since its like inception. I am always interested in what I categorize as like true crime, skeptical true crime. True crime as a genre has a lot of problems, right? It's like this idea of voyeurism. And like, I think a lot of people watch true crime because it makes them feel like more secure about their own life. And like, sometimes it objectifies or kind of makes the victims of these crimes into like commodities that it's just like, tell me more about these people, you know, and it's kind of a morbid fascination. And I think, you know, To Catch a Predator is a great early example of like true crime and its potential downsides. So like to capture that in a fictional film, I think is like really interesting. And I can't wait for the movie. I think it's
I'm excited for that one too.
A standout this year. Yeah.
We love A24. Making a lot of good choices.
Except for that AI one, but can't all be winners.
A lot, not all.
Speaking of the movies, Geoff.
Movies.
I know you're a big fan of Marvel, so I can't wait to get into this with you. But Spider-Man Brand New Day premiered last week, and already it is the highest grossing film of the year. It's already made over $1 billion in its first week.
1.15 to be exact.
In the first 7 days. Yeah, wild number. Also, The Odyssey just crossed $1 billion worldwide, which is pretty cool. Big year for the box office.
Big year for movies.
We had talked about kind of Marvel floundering in a previous episode, and this is kind of a counter argument to that. So I wanted to get your take on, I guess, its performance, and if you had seen Spider-Man Brand New Day.
I've not yet seen Spider-Man Brand New Day, but I am going to see it this week, which I'm excited for because I really do love the Spider-Man movies. And especially like this crop of them.
Tom
with
Holland, Spider-Man.
Yeah, with Tom Holland and Zendaya. I think that they're really good. They're fun. This has the Marvel writing where like the jokes aren't always great, but it is funny sometimes, It's just like a fun, like actiony watch. I don't like look to it for like, I wouldn't say it's like a cinematic work of art necessarily, but good to look at. The acting is good, and it's entertaining.
Yeah,
Just fun movies, fun summer blockbuster movies.
Big boom smash action.
Yeah, big boom smash. Title of up.
I did go to see this. I saw it with Brandy and my friend Cam, and it was pretty good. It was fun.
I remember Cam. Shout out Cam.
Marvel has had a bad streak, right? They've made a couple of bad ones,
what
like
about
Thor,
the
Love and Thunder. Ant-Man Quantumania is a great example. Tough one there. So they had a streak of like bad movies, and I think people kind of lost faith. And I think that they are actually on a little bit of a tear. Maybe that's a little bit of an overstatement, but they have increased their batting average a little bit over the past few films. So
they were on a performance improvement plan. Let's say that.
Sure. I would recommend Thunderbolts, which is the movie that introduced at least one more important character and really was a showcase for Florence Pugh's character, Yelena, which is the new Black Widow.
Florence Pugh?
Yeah, another actor who's in a bunch of stuff this year.
Pugh.
This and Dune 3 as well.
I just love her.
I mean, she's incredible. She's easily the best like post-Endgame character in the MCU. And I think that they know that, which is why she is being featured, including in Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she has like a cameo appearance.
A lot of cameos.
I think that it still suffers, this new Spider-Man movie, from a lot of the same issues of like previous Marvel films where it's why is this person here?
Okay.
I was watching, like Cam had not seen all of the previous MCU movies that preceded this.
Okay.
So he was like, why are there ninjas in this movie? And like, why is Florence Pugh here? Like, there is a lot of questions, which are kind of like, this is how they get you, right? They want you to get invested, right? They want you to get invested, not just in this film, but in the series, right? So
the whole family.
Exactly. So it still has a lot of those problems. And there's an argument that like, that takes away from this being a Spider-Man movie and makes it into more of like just a Marvel movie, which is something that like, as somebody who has seen most of the MCU films, I am less interested in. But for people that go because it's a Spider-Man movie, they might have more issues with. It has this interesting like thematic idea, which is like Peter is in this place where he is now an adult, right? Because all three of the original Spider-Man MCU films, he was in high school. And now like a bunch of time has passed. I think it's like 4 years. So he's past college age. He's like in his 20s and is like figuring out how to exist in the world. And he's like lonely and doesn't have a lot of friends. This is kind of the classic Peter Parker Spider-Man divide, right? Like he's spending all of his time on Spider-Man, so he doesn't have a lot of time to keep relationships,
Yeah, too busy swinging in the streets.
And this changes him. It results in this like, mutation that affects his powers as well. We saw this in the trailer, right? And I speculated that it was like an adaptation of the Man-Spider storyline where basically like Spider-Man kind of goes bad. The spider takes over, Some of the cameos are basically different versions of that kind of like Jekyll and Hyde dynamic between the monster inside of you and the human, right? So we have the Hulk.
Jekyll Hyde, Dr. Hyde, Hyde Jekyll. Do you know that?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. We have the Hulk, who is like the classic Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. We have Punisher, who is also featured. John Bernthal is like heavily featured in the film. And Punisher is a guy who has his like work, quote unquote, as the Punisher is completely taken over his life. He has no personal life anymore, right? So we have these like two extremes where like the Hulk is completely suppressing the Beast and he's just being like Dr. Banner. And then we have the Punisher, who the other side has taken over, the Beast, quote unquote, has taken over his life and, the potential problems with that. So it is like a little bit of an interesting, like for a Marvel movie, like dissection of like masculinity in this year of our Lord 2026. So there's like some interesting stuff going on there, but I don't know that like the metaphor that the film uses completely works all the way.
You said try again.
I mean, it was like fun. It's a fun watch. Like you said, there's a lot of good action in it. I think that people generally like it. On Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's like in the 90s, so it's well reviewed.
Pretty good.
Do you want to talk spoilers about this movie? Because I see that you added a spoiler section here.
I did see.
Yeah, quick break for spoiler warning. The rare hot top spoiler break. If you want to skip spoilers for Spider-Man Brand New Day and future Marvel films, you can jump to 41 minutes, 30 seconds. Let's get back to the show.
Spoilers abound, F-slurs.
I did see that we get a appearance by Jean Grey, my favorite Nexus Storm X-Men.
Yeah, so we knew that Sadie Sink was in this movie, and you and I had talked about it on the pod that we were like, okay, what role is she going to take?
Right.
Even then, I think the most common theory was that she was playing Jean Grey, who is, of course, like you said, an X-Man, a mutant, and we haven't seen the mutants in the MCU. So this is like a big introduction to potentially the next phase following Doomsday of an X-Men saga in the MCU.
And we're ready for it, because I said during Avengers, where's Storm? Where's Storm? Where's she at? Where's Storm at? She could have ended shit.
Are you excited? Like, you're in the theater for MCU X-Men?
100% I am.
Okay.
I love the original one. Didn't you?
I mean, I'm like fine with the originals. Like, I think that they were like, okay. Well, you know, Bryan Singer, not the best guy, directed the first 3 X-Men movies, famously.
Okay, well, I didn't know directors back then, Justin. I was just interested in the film. Mystique.
That was like very early superhero days where they were like, we got to dress them all in black. We can't have anything too crazy happening. It's
Yeah, they didn't
grounded,
want it to look too cartoony. They had to exactly, make it more grounded.
I think that the best of the Fox X-Men movies was the Days of Future Past movie. Did you watch that one? That was like one of the later ones.
Past. I don't think I saw that one. Was that when Jennifer Lawrence was Mystique?
Yes, but they also brought back the original X-Men cast. So it was like a time travel narrative. It adapted like a classic storyline from the comics where there's like, where there's time travel. So, Days of Future Past, I think, was maybe the best of those movies. But I was never like a big fan in the same way that I was totally in the bag for the MCU for many years.
I'm just shocked by this, because what about Famke Janssen?
What about her? You were like a big fan of her portrayal of Jean Grey?
I sure was. She was incredible.
I thought she was good, but I'm not like, I'm standing. You know, I wasn't like best superhero portrayal of all time.
And this is confirmation for anybody who may have wondered if Justin was even slightly bi-curious that you're not. Because Famke Janssen is a gay icon, and how dare you disrespect her by saying that she
I think she did a great job, but
okay.
It's the movies in general that I was just like a little bit not into, you know?
Okay. What about Dr. Xavier?
I mean, what do you mean? He's a great, iconic character. Love Dr. Xavier, although I'm more of a Magneto head personally. Magneto was right.
Okay, Magneto, portrayed by Gandalf. What's his name? I'm forgetting it.
Ian McKellen?
Ian McKellen, one of our greatest old gays.
And also Michael Fassbender in the prequel series.
Never saw that.
Damn.
Don't know her.
Damn.
Miss Fassbender? I gotta look him up. I don't know who that is.
Michael Fassbender?
Yeah.
He's like one of the most famous guys. He was in...
Oh, he was in Inglourious Bastard.
Yeah, he's been in a million things.
Okay. Oh, Prometheus. Oh my god, that's right. 12 Years a Slave. I'm looking up on the IMDb, you know.
Yes. Well, what do you think of the casting, because you're such a big fan of Jean Grey? What do you think of the casting of Sadie Sink as Jean Grey in the MCU?
I'm very excited about it, because I think Sadie Sink, you know, I didn't watch all of Stranger Things, as we've talked about, but I thought that she did a really great job in that show. And she has been in a few other things that I've seen. And of course, you know, this is my issue. My brain works in such a way that, like, I remember snapshots of things. I remember how I felt watching it. And I couldn't tell you what thing she was in, but I've seen her in like 2 other things, I think, since Stranger Things. And I was like, wow, she's a really good actor.
Yeah, she's, I think, probably the best actor to come out of Stranger Things. I think she was pretty good in Spider-Man. She didn't have like a full arc, but that's kind of the point, right? It just introduced her character, and then I think
The Whale, that's what I saw her in.
Right, yeah, she was in The Whale. Yep. I think they appropriately made her a dangerous character and a very powerful character that couldn't be manipulated.
Jean Grey and Storm are both like basically gods. They're like demigods in their ability. But like,
so this is something that never came through in the original X-Men, is that, you know, when these mutants were younger, you know, there's the whole thing about mutants and developing their powers. Usually they come to power in puberty, right? So like their powers manifest during puberty.
The change.
It's a process of learning how to use them, right? So you get more powerful by training, but it's also training to use them responsibly, right? So like the classic example of Cyclops, he has these optic blasts that he can't control at all, right? And a part of his like origin story is developing the visor so that he's able to control his optic blasts, right?
Yes.
So like all of these characters are super powerful to like a dangerous degree. And that's like the government's argument for, you know, mutant repression, right? Is that they're dangerous to the populace. But
oh my God, James Marsden.
you love talking about James Marsden.
Because he's so good and he's just so beautiful.
Speaking of, let's talk about some of the other casting news for the MCU X-Men, which has been confirmed. 2 other roles. We have the MCU Cyclops, who's being portrayed by Kit Connor. You familiar with this guy?
Oh yeah, love him.
So that'll be interesting. He will obviously be paired up
Heartstopper.
with Jean Grey if they go the usual kind of love triangle route.
Love.
We also got Samara Weaving as Emma Frost.
That'll be good.
I think incredible.
Very good.
Samara Weaving, absolute smoke show, and that's kind of like Emma Frost's whole deal in the comics and in the movies. So I think that's great casting. Also kind of positions them in different generations, right? So we have like maybe a teacher generation of like Emma Frost, and then we have like the teenage or early 20s generation of like Cyclops and Jean Grey, right? So I think very interesting, and we'll be following the X-Men casting news because I think this is maybe the only Marvel thing where you and I both are interested.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch it. Do we know when it's coming out though?
I think it's scheduled for 2028. So pretty soon.
That's really still far away, I think, you know? There's a lot of teasing going on. What about all these shows that we're talking about the next season coming out in 2028 or 2029? Things are getting crazy.
We'll be sure to keep following the X-Men news as it proceeds. And for now, let's take a quick break and we'll come right back and talk about Ariana Grande's latest album.
Okay.
Petal.
And we're back.
Geoff, we're so back. And it's time to talk about Ariana Grande's 8th album, Petal.
Yes.
This follows an epic press tour from Ariana, which was in support of Wicked 1 and 2, and the release of her previous album, Eternal Sunshine, which she is actively touring right now. So
wild.
As this album is being released, she's touring her previous album, which is crazy. She's constantly busy. This album was produced largely by Ariana herself and frequent collaborator Ilya. And 3 of the tracks are produced by pop legend Max Martin.
Right.
So Ariana has described this album in a few different ways. So when the album was first announced, she announced in an Instagram post that this is something that is full of life and growing through the cracks of something cold and hard and challenging. Later on, I think the narrative has changed a little bit. Like, I think that there has been this narrative of it being an angry album. So in an Apple Music interview, she said, "I wrote from a place that I don't usually, which was like an unfiltered rage that I think we all feel sometimes." So different things in the mix there about what this album's feel and tone is.
Right.
I think it's also hard to talk about this album without talking about the larger controversy that's surrounding Ariana at the moment and some concerns about her health. So just last week, Ariana and her team announced that she is taking a step away from the spotlight amid, quote, public scrutiny, end quote. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to get into this because obviously we don't know Ariana. We don't know what she's going through, if she's going through anything at all. As I mentioned, like, she's obviously been very busy and has been in the public spotlight a lot. And I think what really triggered this conversation was the music video for the title track from this album, Petal, where, you know, her body looks a lot different. And I think that like the music video intentionally accents the way that her body looks in a scene where she's performing in front of these like kind of creepy men who are smoking cigarettes in like a smoke-filled room, right? So it feels like the music video at least was trying to portray her in this kind of like this light of seeming very, very thin. And I think that music video shocked a lot of people. Ariana has said during performances in her tour that, like, you know, this is something that has been planned for a long time, that she was planning to take a step back, but she did pull out of a West End musical that she was planning on performing in. She also pulled out of a season of American Horror Story that she was scheduled to appear in. So it does seem like there is something happening where she is kind of stepping back from the spotlight. So I did just want to like bring that up and maybe see if you had any thoughts on the whole conversation surrounding her step back.
Yeah, it's this is hard to talk about.
Yeah.
Because it's a really delicate topic, and there is like the prevailing school of thought currently in the culture seems to be like discussing somebody's appearance and specifically their body is like off limits. And to do so and engage with things in that way is like not only cancelable, but in poor taste and regressive. However, as someone who has an eating disorder, I think that talking about health and talking about disordered eating, or the appearance of that at least, I think is also kind of important because it's really not discussed about.
Mhm.
It's really not, yeah, it's just not really discussed very much, and not in a constructive way. If so, in a flippant way, I think it's referenced. Like people are like, "Oh, having an anorexic dinner tonight," and you know what I mean. It's like things like that, which like isn't funny and is also just like,
Yeah, I mean, that's not appropriate in any way,
yeah,
you know?
it's like not funny to make fun of things like that, really. So I definitely do think that Ariana looks different, which is fine. People's appearance changes. I know mine certainly has, and continues to. I will say that like probably since like the promotion of Wicked 2 began, I personally was like, it looks like something could maybe be not great. Something could be wrong.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, this is like a relatively public platform that we have, like on the
Hmm.
podcast. Not that we have like a massive platform or anything, but like I think that having private concerns and communicating them to people, if you're a fan of somebody, is one thing, and it's another thing to go out and say like, you know, this person is going through this specific thing, and I know it because XYZ,
Yeah,
right?
we know nothing about it.
And I also feel like the conversation around this has become polarized because of this kind of like complicated gray area that you're describing, where we
Hmm.
have like, I think Ariana stands online being like, how dare you body shame her? She has been saying that she's fine and healthy and like that she's doing great. And like, you should be canceled for saying anything about
Hmm.
this, right? To people who are like, you know, maybe genuinely concerned and talking on their personal social media accounts about it, right? And then there are people who are like on the other side being like, Ariana Grande is playing into this victim narrative again for like attention. And I feel like that is
Well, that
also
is
insane,
crazy.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that like what the most important thing to do is just talk about it from a balanced perspective, that I mean, clearly something is going on if she is taking a step back, which I think I'm happy that she
Yeah.
is, right? Because it's been a really intense period of her career. And I think that everybody needs rest.
I mean, she's been nonstop. She did Eternal Sunshine. She did promo for that. She did Wicked 1 and 2, which, like, by all accounts, was like a grueling sequence of shooting.
Hmm.
Then all the promotion for it, which was equally, if not more grueling. And she was recording Petal while doing this and recording Meet the Fockers,
Right. Filming Meet the
or that
Fockers. Yeah.
sequel.
Yep.
I mean, our girl's been booked and busy.
Yes.
Not to mention her two stints on SNL that were incredible,
Hmm.
and all of her live performances that she's done in between. And now she's on tour as well.
Right.
So I think like it's definitely like I'm glad that she's taking a break. I do have to say this part, which I think might be unpopular. I take umbrage with the communication that has gone out from her team, which in my estimation feels like they're blaming the public.
Yes. This is where I think I totally agree with you on this.
They're like blaming the public, and like, you people have caused her to be exhausted and to be endlessly speculated about, and this disgusting behavior has made it difficult for her. I have an issue with that because these are people who are paid handsomely by her estate, as well as like her recording company,
The label.
her
Yeah.
record label. I don't know. Maybe you can put a finer point on what I'm
Yeah. I
trying
mean,
to say.
I totally understand what you're saying. I think that we don't know Ariana, but there are people
Correct.
who work with Ariana on a day to day basis. And if there is something going on with her health, then they are the ones who would know about it. Right. And they
Yeah.
also know that the stress that she's under from the multiple projects that we've described. And to make the statement, to put out the statement to people where she said, this is because of public scrutiny that she's taking a step back, which is, again, placing the onus, you know, on people who may just be concerned about her,
Yeah.
which I think is a reasonable position, even if you don't know exactly what's going on in her life, right?
Yeah.
That's tough. And then I think that really the one that sticks out to me is the Petal music video, because the number of people that music video had to get past to come out on YouTube. Essentially, I mean, like that music video has 19 million plays on YouTube. And I think that a big part of the interest is just like rubbernecking. You know, it's like this
Mm-hmm.
has been in the news and like what's going on with Ariana. And for the record label to put that out with the intentional, again, the screenshot that keeps going viral is the one where she's performing in front of these kind of like Hollywood exec type caricatures. And it's like accentuating her figure and the changes in her body. And
Mm-hmm.
for people on her team to see that and think whether or not she's having a health crisis, this is appropriate to put out as like something promoting this album is wild to me. Like that is a choice
Yeah.
that I don't agree with. And I think that like it's tough that the music video came out, and honestly it colored my experience of listening to the album, because this album is a lot about persisting through difficult things. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that it colors a lot of the lyrics that she gives on the album to know about this controversy, or to now in hindsight think about this controversy.
Yeah. It's there's an aspect of like Hollywood, the entertainment business, that I just think is like fully manipulative and just really kind of like a dark and seedy underbelly. And a lot of it is these people that are around artists. And we've seen this time and time again in so many different artists, particularly recording artists, where they are surrounded by people who are more interested in doing more and running these people ragged in order to ensure that they continue to have a paycheck than they are there to be protective of the artist and be like a true friend, a true ally, a true helper.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of made me feel like if you're blaming, or if you're putting the onus on the speculation on the consumers, you're basically absolving yourself of any kind of responsibility or care. And that is, I think, where I have like an issue with it, because it's like you all saw this too, and now there's like backlash, or I won't even say backlash. I don't think that most of it is like in a negative, like attacking kind of way. I think it's like concern, fodder, whatever you want, whatever term you want to use for it. I don't think it's like malintended, most of it.
I think that there probably are a very small group of people that are being assholes about this, right?
Yeah,
But I think that that's
just
like a
your everyday
disproportionately,
trolls.
exactly, that's a disproportionately small group of people. And I think that most people encountering this are coming from a place, especially her fans, right? I
Right.
think most people who are her fans
Of which I'm one.
are coming at this from a place of concern.
Yeah. So that's where I have an issue, because I'm just, and again, I know nothing about Ariana Grande. I know nothing about the people around her really, but that is where I'm like, I just feel like we've seen this before. This just feels like a pattern that we've seen many times before. And I just want her to be very well and happy, because she's gone through a lot.
It smacks of like artist as a source of income as opposed to artist as human. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. It's like the commodification of humanity.
Yeah, the yuckiness of like potentially her team being like, we need to get this album out. You know, it's wild that she only put out Eternal Sunshine 2 years ago, given everything else that she has done in the last
Yeah,
2 years. You know, her profile has only risen.
100%.
Why don't we get into the music? Hey y'all, Editor Justin here with a quick logistical update. Something we've done since the beginning of the pod is to put short clips of the songs we discuss into the pod itself. As we've grown a bit and our listenership has also grown, Spotify has started to flag our episodes that feature copyrighted works. Now listen, we're confident that our use of these clips fall under fair use. We only ever include music that we're discussing, and we are sure to use a very short clip, like 5 seconds, just to illustrate specific points that we make in our conversation. But until a copyright lawyer decides to support us pro bono, we decided it's just not worth the risk to continue including these clips. And I'll miss them for sure, but you can always listen to the albums we discuss on your streaming app of choice afterwards, or better yet, listen to it using physical media, and you can hear our What's Goods on our Spotify playlist. The link for that is in our description. But let's get into our discussion of Petal. Let's talk about the album. So, Geoff, with all of that out of the way, all the intro, what are your high-level thoughts on Petal? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
I did like this album. It was different than I expected, and the thing about Ariana is that she is a creative first and foremost, and she's always going to be trying different things. I think that this album was self-referential in a lot of ways, which I appreciated, and I think just speaks to her market share of pop culture that she's able to even like self-reference. Like there are a lot of people who just don't have the range, to
Mm-hmm.
borrow a phrase, to do something like that. So I think that was pretty cool. Some of her greatest like inspirations are really evident in this album, like Imogen Heap, who I know that she is like a huge fan of, and I am as well. So I really appreciated like those like sonic nods to Imogen Heap and her style of music and artistry and producing. I love that Ariana was like so hands on with this album and kept her circle really small for this album, because I think it allowed her to be creative in a way that she hasn't really done before. So yeah, I really enjoyed Petal. Tell me what you thought about it.
Well, I've never really been like a big Ariana Grande fan. Like, not that I dislike her music or anything like that, but it's always kind of like I've never gone deep on an album, I guess is what I'll say about Ariana. I gave Eternal Sunshine a couple spins, but I did not go as deep as I did on Petal.
Yeah.
This is, I think it's a bit of a not for me situation. Auditorily, sonically, reminded me a lot of Torture Poets Department, in that it felt like there was a sonic palette that she was drawing from that was sleepy in most cases. There was maybe like two moments on the album where I kind of sat up proverbially from my chair and I was like, oh, this is like a moment of drama. But outside of those two moments, it was very like one note, low key. Even when the production had like something interesting about it, it felt like it had
Hmm.
been like all the edges had been sanded off. Like it felt very smooth and like aquarium-y, a lot of steel
Yeah.
drum type sounds across the entire album. And for that reason, a lot of the songs kind of blended together. So that's not to say there aren't highs on the album. I think that there are moments that I was like, oh, this is cool. I think that Imogen Heap influence at the end is easily the best moment on the album.
Hmm.
Uh, I also feel like thematically, this is where I think the recent controversy has colored my reading of the album, because there's a lot of stuff about relationships on the album, which can be read either as about a romantic relationship or about her relationship with her fan base, right? So,
Yeah.
like, we talked about this with the single Hate That I Made You Love Me, which is very clearly kind of a double meaning song
Yep.
about her relationship with Ethan Slater and her relationship with her fans. And I just feel like Ariana is constantly on this album putting up this, I am okay. Nothing is wrong with me. I am strong, and I hate that I made you love me this much and give me this much scrutiny. And it felt this reminds me of the other Taylor Swift album, Life of a Showgirl, where it feels very like girl boss, feels like a relic of like the girl boss era of feminism, where she's like, I can do everything. I got everybody wrapped around my finger, and anybody who says otherwise is wrong, you know? And
Mm.
especially given the fallout from this controversy, I feel like feels a little bit out of touch. I feel like that's misplaced aggression. The fact that she said that this is like a rageful album, most of the rage seems to be directed at like the public. And I just worry that is like, I want to be careful, because I'm not saying that like being a strong woman is like a negative in this album, but I think it's possible to be strong and also to be vulnerable. And I think that the vulnerable moments on this album are the best moments on the album. And I think that
Hmm.
some of the moments where, like we got Big Feelings, we got Hate That I Made You Love Me, certain moments on Petal, the title track, feel very like she's lashing out at her fan base. She acts like everything that she does has been easy for her, and, that she doesn't have to even try. But like clearly it's difficult. Like, and I think that we have seen that. And you and I are constantly impressed with the ability of her to keep doing these epic press tours and these epic film shoots, right? Like, these are
Hmm.
things that are hard. And it's like okay to say that it's hard. And I am just glad that like it seems like Ariana is now taking a step back. And I wonder if it's like reflects a change in her perspective on these things. Because I think that the album comes off as she said, angry in a lot of places. And I don't know if that anger is directed in like a positive direction on the album.
Yeah. I definitely agree that the vulnerability is are highlights. Yeah, I think that one thing that she says in like the verse of the opening track, "Kiss Me," which I really liked that track because I thought sonically it was very interesting and it was a big departure from a lot of her past music,
Mm-hmm.
particularly like the orchestral synths at the very beginning of it and the pacing of the song, the tempo. I felt like I've said this before, but I always try to like picture like what would the track lists be for their live performance of the album. And for this album, I kind of think that the track list is, the order that I would play it in.
Yeah.
Like, this is a great opener because it really is like, okay, this is a different version or aspect of me. And I really enjoy that. But one thing that she said in the verse of this, which I think kind of like encompasses her entire album for me, in the second verse, she says, "My capacity has always blinded me." I think that this is a nod to her ability to take on a lot of things and to disregard the difficulties that come along with that. Relationship wise, career wise, energy wise, even us, and like you said, we do not have a big platform by any stretch of the imagination, but it has grown, and as we have more listeners, and especially with our social media presence being amplified, like, you really do start to see how many people out there are consuming things and have thoughts on what you have put out into the world.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for somebody like Ariana Grande, who's like one of the biggest celebrities in the world and has been for nearly 2 decades, that must be extremely difficult to grapple with on the day-to-day basis, like being perceived constantly. Like,
Right.
her ambition allows her to take on all these things, but doesn't necessarily she's not necessarily prepared for everyone having thoughts about all that she does, every move she makes being perceived 24/7.
Yeah.
So that verse I really liked because I think it kind of like set up, it kind of colored in for me like the space that she might have been in when she was creating this album.
I think that it is, and I almost feel bad given that she is stepping back because of quote unquote public scrutiny, but I feel like the album is it's more interesting on like a lyrical, like there's a lot of lyrics, this is not like Charlie's album. There's a lot of lyrics here. There's a lot of interpreting to do. And I think that like there are kind of almost even with between songs, like conflicting aspects of Ariana's mind space as it stands now. Right. So like on Petal, the title track, she says, "This is not a cry for help. A couple million for my thoughts, I've got plenty, but I am not the victim, bitch. I'm practically drowning in my blessings." And this is what I'm talking about her positioning herself as like this unassailable, like almost like incredible, like girl boss type. Like, she's like, I can do anything, whether you treat the songs as being about a man or about her fan base. Like, I've got you wrapped around my finger. Like, this is stuff that Ariana has covered in the past. And it feels like now she's saying like, I don't know why everybody is worried about me. I'm good,
Yeah.
And then the contrast with like the line on "Kiss Me," where it sounds like she's implying that like part of her issue is her own ambition, right? When there's other parts of Petal that refer to that, right? Whereas she's like, I feel like all of my favorite stories end in disaster. This narrative that she's telling herself. And like, that's a more introspective angle, right? And we talked about this when we talked about Life of a Showgirl, where I think we thought that Life of a Showgirl was a little bit weak because it was so projectionist, right? It was Taylor Swift seeming to take out a lot of her aggressiveness and position it outward, right? Where I think we agree that we're most interested in Taylor Swift's more internal music, right? Like, we really liked Midnights for that reason.
Midnights, yeah.
And I feel like there's a similar vibe here, right? Where I feel like the moments where Ariana looks internally and says, like, I am potentially doing this to myself because I'm fascinated by these narratives where people crash out. That's interesting. But for her to then in the same song say, I am not the victim, it feels like she has this problem with being perceived as the victim or being perceived as weak.
Well, who doesn't?
Well, sure. But like, Charlie does. And she still talks about it. Still talks about her faults on her album.
I think people are complicated. And I think Ariana certainly is and has like complicated feelings about her artistry and her fame.
Yeah.
And, keeping in mind that she is so in charge of her career. And I mean, she's like, I would say at like icon status at this point, in her career. She is keenly aware of everything that goes into her songs. And so like, to me, it's not an oversight for her to like have these conflicting theses in her album. It's like an acknowledgement of like, yeah, when I wrote this song, I was feeling this way about it, or there's a part of me that feels this way about this. Like, I'm not a victim. Don't pity me. Right. But then there's also part of her, which is acknowledging like, sometimes I like get in my own way because all the things that I want to accomplish, there's like a price that I have to pay for that, whether that be perception by the world, whether it be like energy, exhaustion, and endless speculation. So I don't view the album like as seeing like as she like has like these ideas that don't work together. I think like these are just like feelings, and it's a creative reflection of where she is currently in her mind.
Yeah, and I guess that when I hear this mindset that she's in, I'm like, this is a kind of sad, like to me. Like it feels like it's hell. And that's tough, you know, it's a tough listen.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I do think that the album is like her most melancholy work yet, which I'm interested in
Hmm.
because, you know, especially like if we think earlier in her career when she was really like pop princess, doing things like No Tears Left to Cry, and even like, or, you know, her like kind of career highs with like Seven Rings and Thank You Next and The Sweetener, you know, that era where like commercially she was probably like her most successful, you know, seeing like a much more subdued, yeah, I wouldn't say like one note necessarily, but maybe like a more languid kind of expression of her creativity is interesting to me because this is kind of seeing like more emotional depth and more of a creative depth to her discography.
There's a lot of different, I guess, ways that you can look at lenses you can kind of read the album through.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, like, you know, what do you want out of an Ariana Grande album? You know, and I think that it's, you know, it's a rageful album. And again, most of that rage, I think, is directed at the fan base.
It's so interesting to me that because you're saying that she mentioned rage in this Apple interview, is that right?
Unfiltered rage was the term that she used. And she also, in a meeting with her team, said that it was a little bit feral, which is so interesting to me because the sound of the album, I would not describe as rageful or feral. I think that it's actually, like you said, very melancholy. So like
Yeah.
it feels, that's I think what gives it this element of kind of sadness to me is that sonically it's very slow moving in most places, with a couple
Hmm.
exceptions that I'm sure we'll get into. But like it does have this lyrical content that is like pretty dark, and I think is
Yeah.
kind of rageful and angry.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like can pick up on like the anger, but I don't know, rage seems like a feels like a stretch to me
Hmm.
as a fan, as a consumer, as a listener of this album of like 10 times. Like I wouldn't particularly like hear rage, but I'm holding space for that statement because like obviously there is anger on this album, but I don't know. I don't necessarily think that it's like directed at fans, but you asked an interesting question, which was what do you want from an Ariana Grande, or what does one want from an
Yeah.
Ariana Grande
And I think that
album?
answer might change from person to person for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I just want an album.
Hmm.
I'm not looking for any one thing, but that's because I am just a big fan of her work, and I think that she is so multi-talented, multifaceted. I think she's funny. I think she's introspective. I just find her very compelling as an artist. I just want an album. I don't really care what the sound is. You know, I heard a lot. Well, I didn't hear. I read criticism, and I actually that's not true. I did hear some criticism from some of our friends that they were like, "Well, where is the belting? Where is the vocal agility and ability that we are used to?" And
Yeah, we haven't talking about the vocal affect on this album. Yeah.
yeah, I don't need her to prove again and again that she is a skilled vocalist. I already know that to be true.
Hmm.
And I respect her immensely because of that. So, like I said, I want an album. I don't like have any like wills.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Okay. So like my response or my like follow up question to that would be like, she could put out anything and you'd be like, you'd eat it up.
I'm not saying. Well, what do you mean by eat it up?
You know, what do you want out of an Ariana Grande album? And you said, I just want an album. So like your needs would be satisfied if even if no matter what she put out, as long as she put out more content.
Well, I'm just fascinated by her, and I am. I mean, like we already know that I loved Eternal Sunshine, even
Yeah.
though like critically and even commercially, it was not like her most successful album by
Hmm.
those measures. But I really loved that album because I loved the idea of it, and I liked hearing more about her headspace with it. You know, at the end of the day, Justin, I just care about people. I'm just interested in people.
I mean,
Philos,
we both agree about that. I guess I just feel like
philanthros.
I have this uncomfortable relationship with listening to the album, especially given
Mhm.
her public comments about like I'm doing fine, like, and I need to take a step back because of public scrutiny. Whereas I think the most interesting aspect of this album is like her headspace. You know, it's like this
Mhm.
tension. I think, of being a celebrity, and it seems as though it has like affected Ariana in, you know, a pretty intense way, right? Given the fact that she's publicly stepped back. And sonically, I'm not as high on it, right? So that's the other
Mhm.
aspect of this is like sonically, it's not interesting to me because it is I
Okay.
think for the first like 2/3 of the album, it's pretty one note, and then we have a couple of, I would say, standout songs, which is in some ways kind of like you mentioned, self-referential to kind of like Seven Rings and songs like that. We have Like I Do, which I think
Mhm.
is like one of the more dramatic moments on the album, a song that I think is pretty cool. And then the final two songs, which take a total sonic departure from the rest of the album. And I'm like,
Mhm.
these two songs, I'm like, let's do an album that's like in this style. You know, I think that would be something that I'm more interested in. But the rest of it feels a little bit like you're underwater, you know, which is like, maybe that's the intent, but I guess I just don't feel
Yeah.
like that's interesting to me, you know?
I guess that's what I was saying earlier, I think, or what I was trying to communicate earlier is like there's nothing on this album that was like an oversight or an afterthought. Like I
Right.
think it was all intentional. And so I do think that the way that it kind of crescendos at the end and the way that like in the middle it is a little bit more subdued than we're used to.
Hmm.
I think that that was intentional. And I feel like we were supposed to feel like the ups and downs that she has been going through. And so that to me is why I'm interested in it and why I
Right.
liked it. That's not to say that those are my favorite songs of hers.
Hmm.
And it's not to say that these are songs that like I'm like gonna be putting on at a party or gonna be listening to on repeat. I'm just interested in the journey when it comes to Ariana. Tell me more about some of the songs that you liked on the album.
Yeah, well, I already mentioned them by name. The two songs that I think are real standouts are Like I Do, which is the Seven Rings influence, kind of like, I would say one of the only songs up until that point on the album that has like a real energy to it because it has this like hip hop influence, and Ariana's doing a little bit of her like flow. You know, she's rapping a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She does some rapping on Petal too, which maybe we can talk about the instrumentation and the kind of time signature stuff that she messes with on the title track. But Like I Do is the only one where I felt like, okay, this is like a dramatic moment. And I think it's also one of the only moments where her vocal delivery has a lot of energy, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
that, as you mentioned, she doesn't seem to be interested in doing a lot of vocal agility stuff on the album. So it seems like on Like I Do, she's at least giving a little bit more energy in her performance, which I enjoyed. It is kind of very much in the tradition of Seven Rings, where it's like it's a rap song, right? She's stunting a little bit on the song, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
it matches the sonic sound of the song in ways that some of the other songs where she's doing the same thing doesn't really match the energy, you know. So this was the moment on the album where I was like, okay, maybe we're going somewhere here, you know. This along with the warning signs interlude, which I think also is a nice
Okay.
build up
Well,
into this dramatic moment.
I love the Warning Signs interlude, and I also really love the song Freak, which is the song that is like leads into Warning
Interesting.
Signs. And I like that song because it really is, to me, sonically a big departure from a lot of the other things that she's done. Haunting is a word that I would use to describe the music. It's like a ethereal sort of haunting, like fantasy sound. It was giving like dark Glinda vibes to me. I just really like the production on it, particularly the chorus. I thought it was fascinating because the chorus is like relatively stripped back for the majority of the song. There are like some 80s sounding synths. It's like a very staccato and like percussive chorus, which I
Hmm.
really appreciated. And it's very different because she's usually known for like mumble singing, talking in cursive or like singing in cursive. And so for the chorus to be so like regimented and percussive was really fascinating to me. Where she's like talking about, I'm not giving you your fantasy this time and I'm not going to do what you tell me to do.
Yeah, well, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about, where you can interpret that in the context of a romantic relationship, or you can interpret it her talking to her fan base, right? Like this
I
kind of,
took this one particularly as like a romantic partner.
yeah, but I think, I mean, it's very easy to read it, especially given the album that we got. Like you said, I think that given this, the vibe of the album and her building it up as this, like, you know, angry album, I think that it's hard not to read it also in that other way,
Mm-hmm.
where she's like, I'm not going to give you exactly what you want. I'm not going to give you, you know, Sweetener again or Dangerous Woman again, right? Like this is a different Ariana.
Mm-hmm.
I found it fascinating because when I first heard like the opening kind of guitar riff on this song, I was like, oh, maybe we have like a little bit of an upbeat pop rock song. And then it takes this, like the second measure is like it goes
Mm-hmm.
down and you're like, oh boy, we're back in the minor key.
Yep.
It's like, here we go.
And I like that because it was like, oh, here's the expectation. And that expectation is now turned on its head.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're getting.
It's so funny because this reminds me so much of our conversation about Tortured Poets, where you were on the opposite side of this, where you were like, I get why Taylor fans like this because it's like a window into her brain. But like, we agreed, we were like, this is kind of dour. And like, it's just not interesting to me, even if it is like an honest expression. And it feels like you're on the other side of that conversation now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am. And it's frankly because I really like Ariana Grande and I really respect her as a entertainer in every aspect.
And Taylor Swift you disrespect in every aspect.
I did not say that, Justin. Those are your words. Justin,
listeners,
dear, those are Justin's words.
I joke. We love Taylor. We love Taylor. Okay. I would like to talk about the title track sonically. We've already talked about the lyrics a lot. But the first time I heard this, I like to listen to these albums for the podcast when I'm running because it allows me to completely lock in and focus on the music. When I first heard Petal, I had to like run it back because I was like, what's going on here with the time signature? Like, is it changing? Like, is the tempo changing? It's interesting because it changes from like a triplet, like a 3/4 time signature to a 4/4, right? To quarter notes. And it was interesting because when it switches to 4/4, it sounds like it's speeding up, even though the tempo is kind of the same, I guess. You know, like the measures are the same length, but because you're splitting up into 4 instead of to 3, it sounds like it's speeding up. And the changes in the time signature are also reflected in Ariana's flow. So like she's kind of sing rapping throughout this song. For me, it comes through in the hi-hats, you know, the hi-hat pattern changes and it's a pretty sparse production. So like you can really tell when something small like that changes. There's not a lot of other instrumentation that's like on the beat or whatever on the same note as the hi-hat. I just thought that was an interesting, weird little musical thing that she did.
It is interesting. This actually was like probably like one of my least favorite songs on the album.
Well, tell me why.
I felt a little bit like, I don't even know what to call it, the boom, 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 creeping sound. I just feel like I've heard that a lot before and I've heard it from her in many different songs. And for that reason alone, I just like wasn't as fascinating. I do think that the time change was interesting. I do like it when Ariana does like kind of rapping because I think she's good at it and it's catchy. I just thought sonically that this song was like a little bit sour to me. It was not one of my favorites. And I was also surprised by, I don't know, I was surprised that this was the title track.
To me, it's like kind of the thesis of the album in a lot of ways, and lyrically at least. Like sonically, I think I could take or leave it. I think that the time signature change is like interesting on an intellectual level, but like not really viscerally affecting. It was kind of like what happened. And then once I figured it out, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. It was not like a emotional change, you know, and it switches back and forth between 6/8 and 4/4 throughout the song, right? It doesn't there's not one moment that it turns. It's like kind of a back and forth throughout the entire song. But like, you know, the lyrical content about being a petal in the pavement, you know, like I think that being the title track makes sense for like the thematic intent behind the album.
Yeah. Let's talk about the closing track because I think we both really love this one. And for me, it was like my favorite.
Easily the best song on the album. Like the Imogen Heap influence is great. I'm curious as it's one of the only like optimistic sounding songs on the album.
Yeah.
You know, like we talked about how melancholy the album feels. This one, both in its lyrical content and in its sound, is like take a deep breath. Like we're meditating through this, you know, take a moment of peace, right? And I think that is really like, it feels like healing in this album that is otherwise kind of filled with these dark concepts. And again, that to me made it like a difficult listen. So it was nice to have like this moment of I guess like relative euphoria to close the album out on.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that it was or it is like a glimmer of hopefulness on the album, which otherwise is a bit bleak. It's definitely about like being in the moment and looking to those like points of light in the darkness. And Ariana and I are both big fans of Imogen Heap, so I love that style of production in the chorus. And I don't know if you've ever seen the videos of, I think we've talked about this on the pod before, of Ariana like in Logic, like self-producing her tracks and like running her own harmonies and lines over and stacking the vocals up. I think it's like one of her greatest skills is to like do like a single take. And she does a lot of her songs in like a single take. because she's just that great of a vocalist. So she'll like run her main line and then she'll do the harmonies around it. And it just feels like really organic. And like I think I mentioned in one of the other songs, like the percussive element that felt very regimented. This almost felt like the opposite. This felt like she was like letting her hair down, like on the cover of the album, which is something she quite literally never, like she never actually has her hair down. And I felt like this song was her like taking out her ponytail, shaking out her hair, and just being like, I am excited to like step into the sun and be where I want to be and just feel good.
Yeah, deep breaths, like to be
Yeah.
able to breathe. Like I said, it's hard not to read this album to me as like Ariana feeling like she's in a prison of celebrity. That's like a lot of how I feel about the album. And there is like a certain aspect of this song that is like bittersweet because it's like it almost feels like this is like aspirational, But I hope that she is able to find this like moment of peace like in her life, now that she's taken it sounds like she's going to be trying to take some time off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just a really beautiful song.
Me too. I love like the sunny guitars. I love the like UK garage like beat in the background.
It is a UK garage
which is
song.
very like understated.
There's a couple of little two-steppy beats on this album, and this is easily my favorite of the two. The other one I'm not quite as big of a fan of, but the production on this song is like really it feels like sunlight, it feels warm in a way that the rest of the album feels aquatic and feels like water and just kind of a lot of steel drums, a lot of that type of vibe. And this one feels like a totally left turn, which I really loved. Yeah.
Me too. Well, Justin, we may not agree that this is a great album, but I think we do agree that Ariana is a national treasure.
Yes, we definitely agree on that. And I just want to make it clear, I think we've said this multiple times, but like one of her generation's best vocalists, if not the best vocalist in the pop sphere from her generation.
Girl, Ariana is our age. She's 33.
I know, but I'm just saying like her generation of artists, like,
okay.
Yeah. And everything on the album, I'm sure, is intentional and very focused. And the point of the album might be to feel melancholy and to deliver these dark themes. But it's just, for me, not an album that I'm like enjoying the experience of listening to. It's a very bleak album for me. And that's, I think, why it's not for me. But I clearly, for like the stans and fans of Ariana who are like invested in her as a person.
Yeah.
You are the biggest Ariana stan of all time.
I'm not a stan. I am a huge fan because I think a stan is somebody who's like...
Well, you're not like on Instagram shaming people for being concerned about Ariana. Like, that's not something you're doing.
Nor am I saying every single thing that she does is incredible, because I feel like that is reductive when you think that, when you agree like blindly with every artist's like move.
Yeah.
I do feel like that is where it's like stan category, and it's like, that's a mental illness, quite literally. If everyone remembers the song.
Yeah, that's the origin.
If the children remember their history. Being a stan is not really a positive thing.
Yeah.
It's literally like mental illness and obsession. But I would say like being a fan, an appreciator, someone who like is truly respectful of an artist's ability, that is an admirable thing to be. And a true fan and a true friend, not that I'm not, no parasocial relationship, but I'm just saying like there's a parallel between being a fan and being a true friend, where it's like you can give them honest thoughts.
Yeah.
And they respect that you have opinions,
Yeah. So
that's how I see it anyway.
So how do you rank this on your like Ariana Grande album? You don't have to give a number.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm just saying in terms of like your overall Ariana album rankings, like where does this fit for you? Like, is this one of her best albums? Is this like towards the lower of the list for you, even though I'm sure you like all of them,
I think that it is probably on the upper half of her like 8 albums that she's put out. I really, really liked the experience of this, and I thought like her intentionality and artistry was evident, and like it was like a complete thought, like a complete work.
Cool.
Yeah. And I want to say this too. I have been feeling compelled to like give like ratings to the albums that we've been reviewing.
Yes.
And I kind of have been thinking a lot about that. And it's sort of like when I kind of feel like it's a bit silly because it is also subjective. Like when people are like, oh, like he's a 6, but he's got a great personality, so it makes him like a 7.5. Like, I think it's kind of shitty to rate people, and so I'm like, why am I doing that with people's art? I don't think I should do that anymore.
I mean, it's kind of just like the yacht rock conversation, right? It's like fun to try to rank stuff against other stuff, but it's always going to be inherently subjective, you know?
Yeah, I guess I just am feeling like it's a fool's errand that I'm on.
That's how I felt about the Charlie
through
album.
my
I was
own
like,
compulsion.
my mind has so many conflicting thoughts about that Charlie album. I enjoy listening to it and I find it interesting in a lot of ways, but like it would be impossible for me to rank it. Like it just feels
Yeah.
like so different from the other albums that I've listened to from her.
Mm-hmm. Like, I would have a really hard time ranking this album because I just don't even know, you know, and all these works that we've talked about and covered so far this year in terms of albums have been so vastly different from each other. It really is hard to compare. And so it's like this rubric doesn't mean anything, you know?
Yeah. So what would you rate it?
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this game. Justin, we have to take a quick break, and then we're going to be right back and talk quickly about our What's Goods, because this has been a long episode. A good one, but a longie.
We'll be right back. And we're back.
Oh, we're so back, Justin. What an episode. What a week. I'll cut right to the chase. Justin, what's good?
Well, Geoff, I am going to talk about another album for my What's Good this week. It is called Rumspringa by a duo called Ear. And, you know, Rumspringa...
Give your ears a break. You've been listening to a lot of content this week.
Of course. Well, Rumspringa, of course, is the Amish coming of age time where children, I think they're like teenagers, are able to leave their Amish communities and experience the outside world.
You ever watched those documentaries?
Have not watched the documentaries.
Docuseries? Girl, you gotta watch it. Get yourself at HBO Discovery.
Fascinating concept.
You gotta go on there and you gotta watch like the girls leaving Amish country going on their Rumspringa to Miami. Fascinating. Fascinating stuff.
It is fascinating. This is not folk Amish music. This is I would describe it as kind of like somewhere in between like hyper pop and like ambient music. It's kind of like hyper pop if you turn the knob down a few notches, you know?
Okay. I have to tell you, I listened to this album because I was curious when I was on the train yesterday. Hyperpop is not something that would come to mind as a descriptor for this album.
Like I said, it's somewhere in between ambient and hyperpop because there are a lot of samples on this album. It's an electronic duo made up of Jonah Paz and Yael Avtan. They met when they were in college together at Bard, which is in the Hudson Valley.
Oh, girl, I know about Bard.
They had a debut single called Nerves that took off and like went viral, and that was kind of their start. And this is their second album, and it is out on the A24 Music record label.
Had no idea they had one.
Now,
they're really diversifying their streams of income.
I want to tell you, I know everybody's thinking, Justin, you're A24 shill. You're just only talking about A24 stuff on this podcast.
Industry plant.
I just want to say, I avoided listening to this album for a long time because I was like, I cannot just listen to this because it's on the A24 Music label. And then I saw it being covered like on certain blogs that I follow and certain music websites. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll listen to it. And A24 just has my number. So I did really enjoy the album. It's very low key, right? So it feels almost like you're going for a walk on a good day because there's these clips, like these samples that sound like they're from conversations that maybe they ripped from YouTube or like just like street recordings. And then underneath it, it's like the barest bones of like a song structure that is just enough to like, for me personally, to like feel satisfied in a musical sense, but it has this like slice of life energy to it, right? And there are moments where there's like real like electronic production and kind of like quote unquote drops, which is where I think the hyperpop thing comes in, right? So like there's a song called Any Plus Ultra, which is, you know, begins with this like, again, the soundscape, and then suddenly we have this like buzzsaw synth come in, and you're like, whoa, what is going on? And it turns into this other song, really cool sounding song. And then I guess like to contrast that, one of my other favorite songs on the album is called Amsterdam, which is this like super subtle, just like gentle nice sounding, happy song.
Subtle is exactly the word.
This is something that has like really been just like scratching a specific itch in my brain. It reminds me, I had like a phase where I was really into this ambient artist called Ricky Eat Acid, which is similarly like these melodic, like really deconstructed like song structures. There's just enough interesting there to keep you listening, but it's really like the most minimal of a song structure. So this is like probably a really weird album for a lot of people out there that don't listen to a lot of experimental type stuff like this. But as I've said multiple times, I always find it fascinating on pop albums where they introduce elements of ambient music. And this is kind of a fusion of pop and ambient in a balance, like a mix that I have not quite heard before. Like the recipe is just a little bit different from other music I've heard before. So if I did a good enough job explaining what this sounds like, give it a listen. It's called Rumspringa by Ear.
I would say you did a great job of explaining what it sounds like. And I would say that this is exactly what I would expect out of some Bard College students / graduates. Is a little bit offbeat, a little bit funky, and I don't quite get it, but I love it for them.
I think maybe another instructive description is that Jonah was really into twee music. You familiar with like what twee means? Like kind of a little bit saccharine and like on one end of the spectrum. And then Yael was really into industrial dance music. So these two came together and started this band Ear.
Yeah.
And you can kind of imagine how the sound emerged from that pairing. So yeah, really weird but cool album, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Geoff, it looks like you have music to share as well.
Well, I sure do.
And it might be a completely different style of music. So please tell me.
Well, it certainly is.
What's good with you this week?
I have been listening to this one song by a British R&B singer who is called Tyler Lewis. She's a British R&B singer-songwriter. She's of Sri Lankan, Dutch, and South African heritage, but is like born in the UK in England. And she was, interestingly, a contestant on the UK television series Little Mix The Search, which was a reality TV show to find like the next kind of like Little Mix band to like put it together. One of those classic, reality TV competition shows where they're just trying to like recreate the magic of like a One Direction or a 3LW type of band.
Right.
And so although Tyler Lewis did not like win the competition, she has had like a great career. She's still very young and still like new early on in her career, but she so far has written some pretty popular songs. And this is her newest single. It's called Yesterday. She is the first artist who was signed to Emanike's label, Muso by Uzo. And this song is groovy. It's like a kind of word I could use in a non-ironic way. It's vibey. It sounds like early 2000s R&B. I'm hearing influences of certainly like Destiny's Child, Flo, Natasha Bedingfield, interestingly, and like Corinne Bailey Rae. And maybe I would say like her as well.
Girl, put your records on.
Girl, put your records on. It's like, it has like that like really kind of fun, sunshiny quality that I think is evocative of Corinne Bailey Rae and of Natasha Bedingfield, with like the soul and the sultry smoothness of like those girl groups that I mentioned, Destiny's Child and like Flo. It's like super catchy. It's a really fun bop. I listened to some of her other music after coming across this song, and I'm a big fan of Tyler Lewis. I think everybody should give it a spin. That to me is like what a great day sounds like. So Justin and I have very different ideas of like a great day song track, which I love. And that, that's part of what we love about bands. It's really the back and forth between us.
If you couldn't tell based on our conversation about this Ariana Grande album, we have different tastes.
We have very different tastes.
Yeah.
That keeps it interesting.
We gotta keep it interesting here on the pod. Yeah, listen to this song. It's very like, it's somewhere on the spectrum of like soul to disco.
Yeah.
It's a little bit disco-y, but it's not quite as fast as like a disco song. But yeah, it's very fun. She has a wonderful voice too.
Beautiful singer.
Worth mentioning that Emanike, we've talked about this on the pod before, but he's the producer that is behind a lot of Zara Larsson's music.
Of course.
And among his own career, doing his own stuff as a producer. So we love Emanike.
I didn't know that he had his own record label, so I thought it was pretty cool when I discovered this. I said, I'm quite impressed. This man, has really like made a name for himself and is like obviously doing very well in his career to be able to have his own like record label now.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Shout out Tyler Lewis. Shout out Titaníque.
There's one other song that I just want to briefly mention that of hers that I really like. It's called Eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And she put out an acoustic set of like some of her music. I think she's been putting out her own music for like 2 or 3 years now. But I think this is the first song that's really bubbling and like starting to get a lot of big traction.
Cool.
But
awesome.
Anyways, her back catalog is good too.
Yeah, well, you can, as always, listen to those songs on our Spotify playlist. So you can find the link for that in the show notes. And Geoff, that's the episode. And later tonight, we have the Hot D finale.
Oh my God.
You know that we're going to be covering that next week. Can't wait to get into all the dragons, all the fire, all the blood. It's going to be fun.
Can't wait. Well, until then,
bye.
We'll see you next time. Bye. Well, my listeners, my friends, thank you for listening to us. This has been Bants with Geoff and Justin. Bants is created and produced by me, Geoff Taylor, and Justin Benavides. Graphic design also by me, Geoff Taylor. Editing by Justin Benavides. The theme music for Bants is the track Nebraska With You by Sam Day and is provided by No Copyright Sounds. Don't forget to email us to say, hey, how are you doing? Shall we go for it? At bandspod@gmail.com with any questions, recommendation, or just to say hello. And if you like the podcast, rate, review, and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or the YouTube. And tell your friends. Bye-bye.
See ya.
That was a phrase that we used very often. All goes according to plan.
I don't think I ever used that phrase very often. Do you mean
no? But like it was in every cartoon, you know?
Yeah. Like, you know, the mustache twirling villain.
Yeah. They love that. Where are the mustache twirling villains in reality?
Is that a rhetorical question? Because
it is not.
Okay. Because I think they exist. They're around.
They were really like sold. It was like sold to us as children that this was just like an aspect of life that we were going to frequently encounter. Like all of our ops were going to be mustachioed, villainous creeps that had like strange little cats for pets.
I feel like it wasn't so much that they were like, this is somebody you're going to encounter in real life, more that it was like they were trying to clearly communicate the villainy of these characters in the fiction, right? You know, and they had to signal that by making them like extremely obvious villains.
And this is where cats get a bad rap from, and I won't stand for it.
Okay, you ready to get started on this pod? Do you have an intro?
Well, just I thought we were going. But okay, that's fine.
We got to do our intro first. That's how it works.
Okay.
This
was good content. Wasted, I might add.
Well, you know what's great about recording early like this is that I can always cut it and put it at the end as some, you know, bonus content for the
a little bumper.
Listeners. Yeah, exactly.